The Second World War ended decades ago, but its darkest secrets are still coming to light today. We often think of history as something settled, written down in books and taught in schools. Yet, the full story of what happened after the fall of the Third Reich is far from complete. New documents and investigations are constantly revealing hidden chapters of this history. These discoveries force us to re-examine what we thought we knew about the post-war world. They show that while the battles ended in 1945, a different kind of war, a secret war for money, power, and escape, was just beginning for some. The echoes of these secrets can still be felt today. For years, rumors and fragmented evidence have pointed to a vast, organized effort to protect Nazi war criminals and their stolen wealth. These were not just isolated incidents of individuals slipping through the cracks of justice. Instead, they suggest a sophisticated network that crossed international borders involving governments, spies, and powerful financial institutions. The scale of this operation has long been a subject of intense debate and speculation. Now, as archives are slowly opened and forgotten files are declassified, we are getting a clearer and often more disturbing picture of the truth. It is a story of betrayal, conspiracy, and immense greed. The central question that has haunted historians and investigators for over 70 years is a simple one. What happened to the vast fortunes looted by the Nazis? We are talking about gold, art, currency, and other assets stolen from nations and millions of victims across Europe. This wealth did not simply vanish when Germany surrendered. It was moved, hidden, and laundered through complex financial channels. Understanding where this money went is not just about recovering stolen property. It is about understanding how some of the war's worst perpetrators managed to escape justice and live out their lives in freedom, sometimes in luxury. Today, on June 11, 2025, the search for these answers is more active than ever. A new generation of journalists, researchers, and even government officials are piecing together the puzzle. They are digging through newly available records and applying modern investigative techniques to this very old case. What they are finding is a story that connects notorious war criminals to some of the world's most respected banks and institutions. The implications are profound, suggesting that the foundations of our modern political and financial systems may have been built, in part, on a bed of stolen Nazi assets, a truly chilling thought. After the war, thousands of high-ranking Nazis and their collaborators needed to disappear. To do this, they used clandestine escape routes that have become known as the Ratlines. These were not simple, informal pathways. They were highly organized and well-funded networks. They provided fugitives with everything they needed to start over, including forged documents, money, and safe passage to friendly countries. These routes often snaked from Germany and Austria through neutral countries like Spain and Switzerland, or through Italy with the help of sympathetic figures. The final destination was often a country in South America, particularly Argentina. These escape networks were a lifeline for some of history's most wanted men. Individuals like Adolf Eichmann, the architect of the Holocaust, and Josef Mengele, the sadistic doctor of Auschwitz, successfully used these ratlines to evade capture for decades. They were able to blend into new societies, assume new identities, and live out their lives without facing consequences for their horrific crimes. The success of the Ratlines shows a shocking level of complicity from various individuals and organizations. It required a coordinated effort to move these men across continents, all while international tribunals were actively hunting for them to bring them to justice. The Ratlines were not just about saving people, they were also about saving the wealth that these Nazis had accumulated. The fugitives did not travel empty-handed. They brought with them fortunes in stolen gold, jewels, and cash, which helped them bribe officials and establish themselves in their new homes. This money also served another purpose: to fund a potential resurgence of their ideology from abroad. The financial component of the Ratlines was just as important as the logistical one. It ensured that the escapees were not just fugitives, but were powerful figures who could continue to exert influence from the shadows. For a long time, the full extent of these operations was shrouded in mystery and denial. Many governments and institutions implicated in these networks refused to acknowledge their role. However, the evidence has become too overwhelming to ignore. We now know that these escape routes were sophisticated and relied on a web of connections that included government officials, intelligence agents, and even some members of the clergy who provided shelter and assistance. The Ratlines represent a dark and shameful chapter of post-war history, a systematic effort to help mass murderers cheat justice and disappear. For decades, Argentina has been at the center of allegations that it served as a safe haven for Nazis. Under the government of Juan Perón, the country was known to be welcoming to former members of the Third Reich. Until recently, however, concrete proof was often buried in sealed government archives. In a significant move, Argentina's government has begun to declassify thousands of secret documents from that era. These files, now being made public, are expected to provide definitive evidence of the country's role in the Ratlines, detailing how Nazis were given sanctuary and how their stolen assets were integrated into the Argentinian economy. This release of information from Argentina has caught the attention of investigators in the United States. U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley, leading an investigation by the Senate Budget Committee, is now examining these newly available documents. The focus of his probe is on the Swiss banking giant Credit Suisse and its alleged historical ties to Nazi-linked accounts. Senator Grassley is seeking to understand the full scope of the bank's activities during and after the war. The Argentinian files are seen as a critical piece of the puzzle, potentially linking Nazi fugitives in South America directly to their hidden bank accounts back in Europe. Credit Suisse is now facing intense scrutiny over claims that it helped Nazi officials and their collaborators hide their wealth. The allegations suggest that the bank knowingly managed accounts containing assets looted from victims of the Holocaust and conquered nations. For years, the bank has faced pressure to be transparent about its wartime dealings. This new investigation, fueled by the Argentinian documents, aims to uncover the truth about these long-standing accusations. It seeks to determine if the bank continued to service these accounts for decades after the war, effectively helping the perpetrators of genocide protect their ill-gotten gains from discovery. The investigation is a complex and painstaking process. It involves tracing financial transactions that are more than 75 years old, buried in dusty ledgers and coded language. But the goal is clear: to achieve a measure of accountability and justice, even at this late stage. For the families of victims, finding out what happened to the assets stolen from their loved ones is incredibly important. For the world, understanding how a major financial institution may have been complicit in hiding this blood money is essential to ensuring such a thing can never happen again. The truth is slowly emerging, one document at a time. Beyond the actions of individual banks like Credit Suisse, there are even more startling claims about the role of a secretive and powerful institution, the Bank for International Settlements, or BIS. Based in Switzerland, the BIS is often called the central bank for central banks. Some investigators and researchers now allege that this institution was the main hub for laundering the vast amounts of gold and assets stolen by the Nazis. According to this theory, the BIS used its unique international status and immunity from oversight to wash the dirty money and channel it back into the global financial system after the war. This theory goes even further, connecting the laundered Nazi fortune to the creation of some of the world's most powerful post-war organizations. Proponents of this view, such as journalist Mel K. Lay, claim that this secret pool of money provided the seed capital needed to establish major geopolitical entities. They argue that the formation of the European Union, an ambitious project to unite the continent, was partially funded by these hidden assets. This suggests a deeply cynical origin for an organization that was publicly promoted as a way to ensure lasting peace in Europe after centuries of conflict. Similarly, these claims extend to the establishment of America's own Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. The theory posits that the immense, untraceable funds from the Nazi loot were used to secretly finance the creation and early operations of the new intelligence agency in 1947. This would mean that an agency created to protect American interests was, from its very inception, tied to the stolen wealth of the nation's former enemy. It also connects to a broader claim of a secret coup in 1947, where powerful European financial interests allegedly used this money to undermine American sovereignty from within. While these are explosive allegations, it is important to separate established facts from theories that are still being investigated. The role of the BIS in handling Nazi gold during the war is historically documented. However, the claim that these funds were then used to found the EU and the CIA remains a highly controversial theory that lacks definitive, mainstream proof. The search for the truth continues as investigators work to unravel this complex web of finance, espionage, and power. Uncovering the final destination of the Nazi fortune is one of the last great mysteries of World War II, and its answer could change how we view our modern world.